Assalamu alaikum. This is me, Waqas Khan Pitafi. I am here today with the second episode of my podcast. And as I mentioned yesterday on my posts on different social media handles, we are going to talk today about the art of scaling a business internationally. So I'll just give myself 15 to 20 seconds so that the audience can build up, and then I will be starting about the topic. So, last but not the least, let's do that. Okay, so let's start. And let's first of all start talking about, why do we need to start or scale our business on international scale, right? The most important thing about this is that any business which is created, that business is created with the aim of growth, and that growth is going to be possible in this day and age if you are able to create an international company with presence across different regions, specifically in bigger markets like USA, Middle East, Europe. There is Australia. There is the market where you have Indonesia, Malaysia. Then you also have the Chinese market. As far as my business goes, we have set up our business in different countries, including USA. So we'll talk about how we can create and operate a business from USA or in the country of USA. We can also talk about, we will be talking about setting a business in UAE because I have first-hand experience of actually registering and operating our business from UAE, and also from Australia. By the way, we actually own a business in Australia as well. So the first question first, why do we need to create a business in all these countries? And also, for example, if you're operating from Pakistan, so why do you need what's the need for creating your business in any of these countries? The biggest problem, I think, if you are a Pakistani company, that you face is that there are many challenges of operating only from Pakistan. Number one being payments, number two being talent, number three being access to that market. It's not easy to access US customers if you are sitting in Pakistan alone, or if you are sitting in India, or if you are sitting in any other countries which are around this region. So you need to set up. So if you have to, I mean, I set up my first company in US in 2016. At that point of time, I did not know much about where should I open, what are the tax laws, and how will we open the bank account, and all of that details was not, available. But then, a friend of mine actually helped me register a company in US. So it took us, it was a very straightforward process. I'm not a US resident, so it was not very difficult. Still, it was not very difficult for me to open a company in US totally under my own name. There are various variations of opening a US company. That is for some other day, but today we just want to focus on the major aspect of if you have to operate a US company, how can you do that? So you need to register a company, then you need to get a tax number. In US, you call it EIN. And thirdly, the most important thing is, I think, opening a bank account. And fourth part, I think, would be that you also need to set up some payment receiving channels. Like you need to, if you're doing PayPal, or you are doing a US business, you need PayPal, for example. You need a Stripe account. You need some other payment channels which are even provided through banks. So those are different things that can be there so that your operations become smooth. Okay. UAE, for example, wasn't is a different thing. Like, I mean, operating a company in US actually is not very expensive, but operating a company from UAE, for example, is going to be expensive because they actually have a annual license, and then they also charge you for visas, and there are other charges as well around, like, taxation and other things as well. So that also, like, comes into the picture. In Australia, for example, we opened a company. It was not possible to do it alone. I mean, I cannot open a company in Australia on my own name, just very unlike USA and perhaps to a certain extent UAE as well. In Australia, we needed to have somebody who is in Australia. So somebody who is either staying over there, even does not need to be a national, but there has to be somebody, like, who can help you set up a company over there. So that's actually Australian requirement. Uh, okay, so why do we want to go? I mean, these are the logistic parts. Why do we want to go to different countries? As I said, like, that is more strategic reason. Most important is generating more business from those, and people typically trust, like, companies which are based out of their own countries. So I think that is very important. For example, if you are going to US and I mean, US is slightly different, but then, like, for example, if you're going to UAE or Saudi Arabia, for example, Saudi Arabia, for every major project, you will need to have a company. They will ask for a company. Are you a local company? They will ask you for CR. They will ask you for various things like that. Okay, so that's about that. And then after that, the most important thing that comes into picture is building international teams. uh, in this day and age, we can actually operate remote teams as well, but for a serious marketing and sales, you need to have a physical team as well, and perhaps an office if you can afford that in a new country. It's very difficult for a Pakistani company to open an office in, for example, USA or even in UAE for that matter, because you have to pay much higher salaries over there to staff, and that becomes very challenging. One way of resolving this could be that you should be able to combine. I mean, few companies can actually do kind of a JV and then divide the cost of having the sales team. I mean, this could be possible strategically only if the companies actually are working on similar but not overlapping services. So, for example, if somebody works, I'm in tech business, if somebody is working on a has a team of Python developers, another team has, like, Node developers. So I mean, that could make a synergy, and they can potentially go for recruiting a sales team on US soil or in Middle East for that matter. I think that is going to be there. And also, if somebody wants to scale globally, the important step, I think, important aspect of that becomes is that you bring in diversity, cultural diversity as well, which is very important in this age that where we are living, for us to scale our businesses, because cultural diversity brings in motivation to the teams in much different way. And I have seen, like, in my experience of industry in last 24 years, that working with, for example, my US counterparts, or with my uh, Indian counterparts, like, it has always given me a new way of thinking and imagining the way I want to carry on doing my work. So teams is very important. Uh, Legal and financial challenges, you should always study those, and always try to engage experts in that. If you are in USA, for example, you actually call this thing, in USA, accountant is called a CPA, for example, and a lawyer is called an attorney. So you need to actually engage both of these, and need to have somebody who is solid and skillful, so that you can be assured that whatever steps you are taking, they are not going to backfire, because I think the risk of any backfire in a country like USA is going to be much much bigger, and it can be problem making for all of, the business. Okay, so another way of global expansion could be that technology, remote hiring, and remote associations. But more importantly, you can also focus on making partnerships. And many successful companies I have seen actually operate in partnerships. So one way is you hire your own team. Another way is that actually there is already somebody over there, and they are working and they are operating in a decent way, I mean, doing well. Then you actually try to convince them and make partnerships with them, so they can probably exchange work with you, and they can probably find more work for you. And these kind of things, I believe, can be also considered when you are trying to go to global markets. uh, I think many companies have in Pakistan, Lahore specifically. If I talk about, many companies have been able to establish partnerships or set up offices successfully. They, for example, early 2010s, I know several companies, including, for example, Confis, Dexel, uh, and there are many other small, I mean, small medium companies. Some of these actually, like Confis and Texel, have become large companies as far as Pakistan market is concerned. But they were, not having a solid presence, but then they were able to make that by building a good international team, international offices, and that brought them all the success which they have received in last few years. So I think that has been very helpful for them. So the key point, I just want to do a small, wrap up. I don't want to dive too deep. We can do another episode later on about, the logistics, or there will be any questions, because I believe this topic is very might be very interesting for various viewers. And if it is interesting, they might have more questions. Feel free to actually ask those questions in the comments, and I can then guide you more about hands-on ways of how to, for example, open companies in various countries, including USA, UAE, even Saudi Arabia, and in Australia, for example. And how do you hire more or talent effectively over there as well? So that is something which we can discuss on the basis of this feedback that you will have for me, or any questions you will have for me. So in the end, I would like to see, if there are any questions, and try to ask you those questions, or answer those questions. I think Talha is asking on LinkedIn, if anyone is on study visa, can he open the company in Australia? I believe yes, but I'm not an expert. So please do check it with some accountant over there before you make any move in that direction. But I believe it is possible. Okay, let me just see if there are any questions anywhere. Okay, I think that's how it is. The post is somehow friends only. Okay, why is that? Let's see. I'm making it public now on Facebook. My apologies for this. So I think that's it for today. And inshallah, next time with the next episode, I will see hopefully all of you very soon. Thank you so much, and have a lovely day, everyone.